Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. So this time we're exploring self-discovery and, spirituality.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
It is. We've got this incredible audio excerpt in Spanish. It's almost like a guided meditation, Super poetic and really makes you think.
Okay, I'm hooked already.
Right. So we'll be breaking it down for you, translating and unpacking all the juicy stuff.
Sounds good. And even if someone isn't, like super into spiritual stuff, I think there's a lot here for anyone who's ever felt a bit lost or, like searching for something more.
Totally. And you know me, I always get excited about those ideas that just like make you see things in a new way. And there's this one line about darkness that really stuck with me.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not about darkness being the opposite of light, but more like a place where you haven't like shined your own light yet. What do you think about that?
hmm. That's a beautiful way to put it. Instead of being afraid of the dark parts of ourselves, maybe those are the parts that need our attention and compassion the most.
Exactly.
And actually, that leads perfectly into one of the big themes here, which is self-love.
So not just loving our, good sides, but embracing everything about who we are.
Exactly. This excerpt really gets into those voices of shame and guilt, the ones we all have.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to keep us small, afraid to really step into our full potential
Yeah, we all know that inner critic, right? Have you ever felt like there's a part of you that's always judging or second guessing everything you do?
all the time.
The excerpt calls this the ego.
And it's not saying the ego is bad or evil. It's more like it's been trying to protect us, but maybe in a way that's not helpful anymore.
So how do we start to like shed that old protection and actually embrace all of who we are?
Well, the excerpt suggests that self-love is the key. It's about recognizing that even the parts of ourselves we might judge or reject, even those parts are worthy of our compassion.
Which makes sense, right? If we're constantly battling against a part of ourselves, it's hard to truly love and accept who we are.
For sure. It creates this inner division, and that's the opposite of what the excerpt points towards, which is this idea of becoming a total being.
We'll get into that more later,
But
right?
definitely. But first, I want to touch on something that really resonated with me, which is this beautiful description of the soul.
Oh, yes. It talks about the soul being the most expanded part of you, always there and guiding you. It's like it's urging us to connect with something deeper.
It is. And it's not tied to any specific religion or belief system. It's more about recognizing that there's a part of us that's connected to something bigger. Maybe you call it your intuition, your higher self, your inner wisdom, whatever resonates with you.
I've definitely felt that sometimes, like a gut feeling or a knowing that just seems to come from somewhere beyond my usual thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, it often happens during meditation, when the constant chatter in my mind quiets down and I can tap into this deeper sense of peace and knowing.
It sounds like the excerpt is saying that connecting with our soul is a source of real joy and happiness. Like a total contrast to the mind's focus on worry and just, getting through the day.
Exactly. And it's not about ignoring or rejecting our thoughts and emotions, but more about learning to see them as temporary while staying connected to that deeper sense of being, which is our soul.
So it's not about getting rid of our minds, but shifting our perspective, like seeing things through the eyes of our soul.
Precisely. And that shift in perspective is a key step on the path to becoming a total being, which, by the way, we're going to dive into next.
Okay, listeners, get ready because this is where it gets really interesting. Buckle up. We're about to unpack total being.
Okay, so this whole total being thing,
Yeah.
it can sound kind of intimidating. Like, what's that even supposed to mean for, just regular people going about their lives?
Right. Like, am I supposed to be meditating on a mountaintop somewhere to reach total being?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
This excerpt actually breaks it down in a way that's pretty practical. And it starts with, taking responsibility
Okay.
for your own experiences, I mean.
Gotcha.
Not in a, blaming yourself kind of way, but more like realizing you have the power to choose how you react to things.
So instead of feeling like things are just happening to us, we're actually creating our own reality.
Exactly. And it connects with another big idea here, which is about letting go
Letting go of what?
of the need to control or fix other people.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is.
Especially if you're someone who really likes to help others.
Yeah.
But are we saying we should just ignore people's problems?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's more about recognizing that everyone's on their own path, making their own choices.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to support someone is just to be there for them, you know?
Yeah.
Listen without judgment and trust that they have their own inner wisdom to figure things out.
Okay, I'm with you. But how does that tie into total being?
Well, the excerpt says that when you start taking responsibility for your own life and uh, let go of that need to control others, something interesting happens.
Like what?
Karma ceases to exist.
Whoa, hold on. Does that mean like all those bad things we did, they just disappear?
Not exactly. It's more about shifting your perspective on karma, you know.
Okay.
Instead of seeing it as some kind of cosmic punishment system, it's something that dissolves
Yeah.
when you understand your true nature.
Okay, so less about punishment and more about recognizing everything that's happened has led us to this point. But how do we actually, understand our true nature?
It's a process, right?
Yeah.
The excerpt talks about answering this question, who am I?
Right.
Not with some, like, definition, but through deep inner exploration.
So it's a journey, not just a destination.
Absolutely. And like any journey, there are going to be challenges along the way.
Makes sense.
The excerpt doesn't shy away from that. Actually, it says that difficulties are part of being human, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So many teachings about, spirituality focus on reaching this blissful state where everything's perfect. But here, it's like challenges are part of it.
Exactly. Even necessary for growth.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes that even the negative emotions, like
Mm-hmm.
anger or sadness, they're all part of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's not about pushing them away, but learning to, accept them, let them pass.
Like riding a wave. You can't fight the ocean, you learn to move with it.
That's a perfect analogy.
Thanks.
And speaking of going with the flow, the excerpt also talks about the importance of self-care.
Okay, I like where this is going.
It encourages us to, pamper ourselves more, love ourselves more.
I can definitely get behind that. It's so easy to get caught up in taking care of others that we forget about ourselves.
Right.
But how does self-care connect to total being?
Well, think about it. When you're exhausted and burnt out, it's hard to connect with that deeper part of yourself, that soul we were talking about.
Yeah.
Self-care is about giving yourself space and, the nourishment you need to thrive on this journey.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not selfish to take care of ourselves. It's actually crucial for spiritual growth.
Exactly.
Speaking of spiritual growth, though, this excerpt gets into some pretty mind-bending stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like the nature of enlightenment itself.
Ah, yes. And it's not presented as this, distant goal you can never reach.
Okay, good.
The excerpt describes enlightenment as a state of awareness where you've truly answered that question.
Who am I?
Yes. And discovered the greatness of your being. It's
Yeah.
where the mind takes a back seat and your soul leads the way.
That sounds amazing, but to be honest, it's a little hard to grasp. What does that even look like in everyday life?
Well, it's a state of complete integration.
Okay.
There's no longer this sense of separation between you and your soul.
Okay.
And the excerpt suggests that when you reach that point, your life becomes filled with, pure magic.
Oh, now you're speaking my language. But does that mean there are no more problems or challenges?
Not necessarily. Remember, challenges are just part of being human.
Right.
But the way you experience them changes. There's this sense of peace and acceptance, even when things are tough.
So it's not about reaching some perfect state of bliss, but about shifting your perspective,
Yeah.
finding meaning in all of life's experiences.
Exactly. And the excerpt makes it clear that there's no, judgment or punishment waiting for us on the other side. There's no heaven or hell,
Okay.
just the continuous unfolding of our own unique journeys.
Which I guess ties back into letting go of control.
Right.
We're not meant to be micromanaging our destiny, but trusting the process and recognizing that divinity within ourselves.
Exactly. And it leads to this pretty radical idea, actually.
What's that?
The excerpt challenges that traditional idea of, a God sitting in judgment. It suggests that we are each responsible for creating our own reality and that there's no external force controlling our fate.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is.
But if we're each creating our own realities, does that mean we're not really meant to be one with others?
That's a great question. And actually, it's something the excerpt addresses directly.
Okay, good.
It challenges the idea that true unity comes from merging with others. Instead, it emphasizes our inherent separateness.
Okay.
It says that true oneness comes from integrating all the different parts of ourselves.
Like what?
Our ego, our soul, our light, and our darkness.
So it's not about losing ourselves in others, but about becoming whole and complete within ourselves.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of the veil falling comes in.
Okay, remind me about the veil again. It's like a barrier separating us from our true selves, right?
Yes. The excerpt describes it as this veil of illusion,
Hmm.
makes us forget our soul, our divinity, our connection to something bigger.
Yeah.
And when that veil falls, we have this moment of awakening
Oh, wow.
where we remember who we truly are.
So it's not about creating something new, but uncovering something that was already there all along.
Exactly. And the excerpt actually makes this bold statement. It says, the veil has already fallen.
Wait, hold on. So does that mean we're all enlightened and just don't know it?
Not quite. It's more about recognizing that the potential for awakening is always present.
Okay.
We just have to choose to step into that awareness.
So even though the veil has fallen, we still have to actively choose to see through it.
Exactly. It's a conscious choice to embrace our true selves and, live from that place of wholeness. And when we make that choice, the excerpt says, something incredible happens.
What's that?
Our soul, our divinity, integrates fully within our being.
And that's how we reach total being.
Exactly. It's not about chasing some far-off goal,
Yeah.
but about embracing the present moment, recognizing that divinity that's already within us.
Wow, that's really powerful. So it's not about becoming someone else, but about fully embodying who we already are.
Yes, and the excerpt emphasizes that embodiment is about experiencing life fully in our human form, with all its joys and sorrows, its light and darkness.
Okay, I need a minute to process all this. We've explored some deep concepts here.
We have.
Ego, soul, karma, enlightenment.
It's a lot.
It is. But there's one more piece I want to talk about.
Okay.
This concept of pure compassion.
Ah, yes.
What does the excerpt say about that?
Right.
Okay, so pure compassion, what's that all about?
Well, it's not just about being nice,
Yeah, sure.
It's deeper than that. It's a whole different way of, like, seeing and interacting with others.
Okay, so how is it different?
It starts with recognizing that everyone, is sovereign,
Sovereign.
meaning they have their own path, their own choices.
Right.
And pure compassion means allowing them to have their own experiences without, like, interfering or trying to change them.
So even if we see someone struggling, we shouldn't try to fix their problems.
That's not about being indifferent,
Right.
It's about recognizing that they're on their own journey,
Yeah.
just like us, making choices that are right for them in that moment.
Yeah, but that can be hard, especially when it's someone you care about and, they're making choices that seem, well, not good.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It goes against our instinct to, protect the people we love. But the excerpt suggests that sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is, well, simply be there.
Okay.
Offer love and support without judgment. Trust in their own inner wisdom.
So we're acknowledging their right to make their own choices, even if we disagree with them.
Exactly. And it all ties back into that idea of duality.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
Remember, good and bad, right and wrong.
Yeah.
Well, the excerpt says that when we reach total being, duality just, it disappears.
So we don't see the world in those terms anymore.
Right. It's not about labeling things as good or bad.
Uh-huh.
It's about seeing them as different experiences, each with its own purpose.
Oh.
And that opens up space for a whole new level of compassion. Like the excerpt describes it, the fights will end, learning will end, striving or searching will end. Interfering in the lives of others to help them or save them or heal them will end.
That sounds,
Liberating.
yeah. But does that mean we just, sit back and watch? No action, no engagement?
No.
Ew.
Pure compassion isn't passive. It's about, showing up with love and support without trying to force our own ideas on others, celebrating their individuality, trusting their journey.
It's like saying, I see you, I love you, and I trust you to figure things out.
That's perfectly. And, all this talk about pure compassion, it really brings us back to self-love.
Oh, right. Like, we can't offer that kind of acceptance to others if we haven't given it to ourselves first.
Exactly. Recognizing that we're all, perfectly imperfect, always growing, always learning.
Wow, we've really gone deep today. From self-love and the soul to total being and pure compassion. It's been a lot.
It has, but a good kind of lot. The excerpt leaves us with this really hopeful message.
Yeah, what is it?
It reminds us that we're not lost, not alone. We're exactly where we need to be on our path.
And we have the power to create, a reality that aligns with our true selves.
Exactly.
Even though, it might be tough sometimes.
Of course.
We can always go inward, connect with that inner wisdom, our soul, that divinity within us.
The excerpt actually ends with a really beautiful affirmation.
Oh, what's that?
It says, "Beloved, you are not lost, you are not alone, you are always in the perfect place at the point where you are on your path." You are doing very well. Your soul, your divinity is now with you and always will be.
Wow. I mean, that really does, it resonates. No matter where we are on our path, we're guided, we're supported, and we have the power to create a life that's full of, love, joy, meaning. It's a powerful message.
It is. And it's one we can all carry with us on our own unique journeys.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as interesting and thought-provoking as we did.
We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.